Correct.
God.
That's a good episode, guys. What? Did it say recording in progress? I was talking.
Huh?
How rude of her
What?
to interrupt me. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Ryan.
This is Himbo.
This is Jake.
This is Matt.
And this is our 2024 popularity poll results episode. Coming out a little bit later than I would have liked, but you know what? Life happens. I apologize. You're getting the results. You should be happy with that.
Ryan does not care anymore.
It's the end of the year. It's the end of a busy year. I'm out of F's to give. So this year, we're going to do kind of similar how we've done it the past couple of years. I know all of the results. I have poured over the results and I've gone through and cultivated them in such a fashion that makes me happy, which means way too in depth of number diving. And then I've also created some questions for Fleric, Mac, and Jake to answer throughout the podcast about what they think the results of the popularity poll are. We're not going to do like an actual contest like we've done the past couple of years. We're not going to keep track of score because really just kind of figured out there's no way that they would really know any of this. And so it's not fun if it's just three guys taking shots in the dark to see who randomly wins. So it's just going to be for fun. We're answering these questions.
If you were one of the ones guessing, this would be cutthroat.
It'd be a
Yes.
competition. And I'd win every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, your
'cause you look-
encyclopedic brain, geez.
Good results.
When it's the three of us and Ryan is the one leading the competition, it's like, all right, let's have some relaxing, fun guessing. And then when Ryan is involved, it's like, we're going to damage the relationship.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And God help us if Ryan loses.
You cheated. That's all there is to it. Frankly,
Or if there's a
it's
tie. I think
ridiculous
the most
to think
angry I've
otherwise.
ever seen him is when there's a tie.
That's true.
Guys are
That is,
stupid.
yeah.
Ties
Like
happen.
every
We can
single
just
time that
share.
we ever played,
Yeah.
every single time we ever played racquetball together, Ryan was like, it was at least decisive when I beat him, right?
Yeah.
But if it was a tie, that's when Ryan gets really upset.
Yes. All right. So this year's poll, we had another uptick in the amount of responses that we got. We got 1,007 total responses. That's 59 more than last year. So it's a 6% year over year increase. Would love to see that keep tracking up as we go throughout the years. I will throw a bit of a disclaimer out here, but we did have to cull some of the responses from the overall results. There's some obvious kind of stacking of the votes. We found those. We eliminated those. Come on, guys. It's just for fun. Don't do that.
Yeah. No consequences here.
So, with that being said, let's dive into our top 10 Rikishi. There are 3 newcomers to the top 10 favorite Rikishi list this year, which means there are 7 that have remained from last year. Name 2 Rikishi who you think are newcomers to the top 10 list, and anybody can throw out whoever they want. Flair, who do you got?
Who wants the gimme?
Ono Sato.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Takeru Fuji?
Well, Takeru Fuji. So, another thing want to mention, this popularity poll was based off of the top division for the September Bansuke. Takeru Fuji was not in the top division for the September Bansuke. I'm betting if he was, probably, yeah, top 10 newcomer.
Let's see. So I'm
Get wrecked, Mac.
naturally Sumo DB is down. So I'm
Of course.
going to go and take a look at I think Sumo stats. Let's try them. Let's see if they're working. But I want to get that Bansuke in front of me to see if it helps unlock anything. I guess maybe.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
Flair.
I was going to say,
Flair's onto something.
Wakataka Kage doesn't count, right? Because he's
No.
been up here before.
Well, newcomer from last year.
Oh,
So
then yeah,
absolutely,
okay.
Wakataka
Okay.
Kage is a
Okay.
newcomer
Okay.
for this year.
I'm 2 out of
Let's
3.
see.
Yeah, but
Haku Oho?
take the competition out of it, and Fleric's all over it. Once again, Haku Oho is down in Juryo.
I'm trying to reach how far back. Like, he made his debut, though. I assume he would be popular at this point.
Well, yes, but the only Rikishi that are eligible to be voted for are the Rikishi that were in the top division when the poll was posted. So Haku Oho not having been in the top division. We've done this for 6 years, Mac.
And
Shame.
when have you known me to actually pay attention to what you say?
That's fair, but
during the
still
episode and not
disappointing.
1 second longer.
Sometimes not even that long.
Immediately purged.
All right. I guess like the other ones that would potentially be new since last year. I mean, we got Roga, Churanomi, and Oshoma that were debutantes to the top division, but I don't think that any of them are breaking through that popularity barrier.
Let me
Give
list
us a
who
hint.
the
Is it
top
somebody
10
that
was last year, and then you'll
sure?
there might be a name you think is in there that isn't. So last year,
Oh, it's got to be Bushozan. Never mind.
damn it, Jake got it. 3 for 3. No. Ura, Hoshoryu, Kirishima, Midori Fuji, Takakeisho, Atami Fuji, Takayasu, Hokuto Fuji, Wakamoto Haru, and then we had a tie for 10th, so it was a top 11, but Tobizaru and Teruno Fuji.
I did not hear Koto Zakura on there.
And that's number 3. Those are our 3 newcomers to the top 10 from last year. So as we go through, we're going to figure out who dropped out of our top 10 from last year. But let's start with number 10, some Rikishi that are filling up the B tier of our popularity. I kind of just do little tiers throughout here and when you jump from like B to A tier, that's just a very clear gap in the number of votes between the bottom of the A tier to the top of the B tier. So we're going to start here in the B tier with number 10 on our list, same as he was last year, our Seoul Yokozuna Teruno Fuji.
Number 10.
Wow.
10 for 2 straight years. He got 2.69% of the response. And he is actually the first of 5 Rikishi in the top 10 that maintained their rank from last year. So there's a lot of a lot of
some
similarity.
consistency here.
A lot of consistency this year. Probably the most consistent year-to-year results that we have had.
And then the obvious thing for Teruno Fuji is he's just not there.
He's not there. Yeah.
Like you forget he's even around when it comes to picking your favorite.
Absolutely. But when he shows up, he wins Yusho, so he keeps those favorites around.
Yeah, exactly the same number of them.
We have in a tie for 8th place, we have Koto Zakura, our first newcomer on the list here. He got 3.29% of the response. He was 12th last year, so he was just knocking on the outside of the top 10 last year. He is the only active Rikishi whose rank has increased for 5 consecutive years. So he was ranked 32nd in 2020 when he debuted in the popularity polls, and all the way up to 8th in 2024. And if he keeps going at the rate that he is, just coming off of his first Yusho and Kyushu, and that was after the popularity poll results happened. So he could go a little bit higher in that ranking, especially if he's able to make it to Yokozuna.
Yeah, guarantee he would be at least a few slots higher if the poll happened after the November Basho.
Absolutely. And also the next longest streak of continuous rank improvement. So like I said, Koto Zakura has a streak of 5 years of continuous rank improvement. The next longest is 3 years, and that is Hirado Umi.
Nice.
And then tying Koto Zakura for 8th place is Midori Fuji, also getting 3.29% of the response, dropping 4 spots from last year when he was number 4 overall last year. So he had the second biggest drop in percent of response of anybody in the top division, he dropped 3.38% from 6.67% of the response last year to getting 3.29% of the response this year. So I said he was the second largest drop in percent of response. Which Rikishi that dropped out of the top 10 from last year had the biggest drop in percent of the response from 2023? So your Rikishi
I got a good one.
Your Rikishi that dropped out of the top, I'll give you multiple choice. I'll tell you who they are that dropped out.
Can I guess first?
Sure, go for it.
Kirishima, I bet he had a big drop this year.
Okay, noted. Here are your options. Atami Fuji, Hokuto Fuji, Wakamoto Haru, and Tobizaru are your 4 guys that dropped out of the top 10 from last year. So, sorry, Jake, Kirishima's still in top 10.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it. I'm guessing he had a pretty big drop because he was, what did you say, 3rd last year?
3rd or 4th, yeah.
Yeah. But sorry. Yeah, I guess I am not surprised that he's still got some hardcore fans keeping him in the top 10. But yeah, I want to see how far he went down.
Yeah. Is he in your top 10, Jake? Just out of curiosity.
If I had 10 to pick, he'd be borderline probably.
Okay.
But I think I probably would have put him higher up last year as far as guys that I was excited to watch because he was so close to Yokozuna for a little bit.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
once again, your options: Atami Fuji, Hokuto Fuji, Wakamoto Haru, and Tobizaru.
I think Mac has a choice.
I was thinking Wakamoto Haru, actually.
So it wasn't Wakamoto Haru, but he
Damn.
did have the biggest drop out of the top 10. He dropped 7 spots from 9th to 16th, but that didn't result in the biggest drop in percentage of votes.
Okay.
Fleric.
I'm gonna go with the Tommy Fuji.
Atami Fuji is correct. So Atami Fuji last
Wow.
year was 6th overall, had 6.03% of the response. And this year he dropped to just outside of the top 10 at number 11, and he only had 2.59% of the response. So he had the biggest drop off in people that voted for him from 2023 to 2024.
Yeah.
That's really
Looking-
interesting because he had two 11-4 tournaments to end 2023, and those were his first two top division tournaments, and that put him
Second
all
two.
the way.
He had,
Oh,
a, he had
yeah,
a bit of a
'cause-
false start.
Yeah, he had in 2022 he had one try where he went 4-11, and then he came back. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, just that small sample size was enough to get him well into the top 10, and this year he's done fine. Like he hasn't like blown the doors off of anything like Ono Sato, but he's kind of like
He's
taken a
maintained.
year to he's gotten his feet under him in the top of the joy there, and that's I don't know. I guess I'm kind of surprised that he would drop off.
Same.
Yeah, I think you can definitely see because winning some Ginyu shows and two kind of just barely getting some. I'm seeing a lot of 7 and 8s, so like more Makikoshis than Kachikoshis over this past year. So, but staying in the joy is really, really hard to do. So it's still very, very impressive. But he's not like an Ono Sato who's just like barreling through becoming the Zeki right away.
Oh yeah, I bet you a lot of people that were excited about newcomers last year may have jumped that train over to Ono Sato, and I expect him to be very high on this list.
You want to shoot your shot? Where do you think Ono Sato lands in the top 10?
2.
Okay. We'll move on to number
Oh,
7.
you're not going to give me anything.
Not even gonna do it.
Find out when we get there.
What did you expect?
You're just like, all right, Jake. I'll give you a second to say one more thing so that you'll be happy and shut up for a little longer. I mean, it's working.
That's what I said. He's on to us.
7th on our list of top 10 favorites is Takayasu, getting 3.99% of the response, maintaining from last year. He was 7th last year, so he's staying right where he was. Number 6 on our list. Oh, Flair.
Flair.
I just want to say Takayasu's been hot trash this past year, right?
He has, but
How dare you?
He's kind of like, I think he's like Teruno Fuji, where if like you've established yourself for many, many years, you're gonna have people like Jake who like, it doesn't matter what you do. You're my favorite guy. Like you've done that for long enough. I'm sticking by you. There's no reason to change. Whereas somebody like Kirishima, who like all of a sudden came out of nowhere last year, is like, ooh, he's the new hotness. I'm gonna throw my vote behind him. It's like this year, ooh, no, he's bad this year. I don't want to vote for him now. You're more likely to have a drop off as opposed to like a more long term sustained success that Takayasu had.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. And looking at his results, I might have spoke too fast because it looks like he did have a Jinyushu on. It looks like Natsu of this year. No, it's Haru. Yeah, you got a Jinyushu. It looks like in Haru of this year.
Yeah, he went 11-4 in March.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he's very similar to Teruno Fuji in that like if he shows up for the whole basho, usually he's going to do pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just
always
he's getting
count on him
older,
to break
and
your
like
heart.
you said, he's got really established fan base because he's been around for a long time, and the people like me that are just addicted to heartbreak. Yep. Nothing changed in 2024 that's going to change him from being my favorite.
Keep it rolling.
All right. Number 6 overall is Kirishima. He got 4.29% of the response. He was 3rd place last year, so he did drop off 3 ranks from last year. So it was a drop, just not as much as maybe you were expecting. Sure. He is the 2nd of 4 2023 top 10 Rikishi whose percent of response dropped by 3% or more. So there was a lot of people in that top 10 who dropped by 3 percentage points, which is very impressive.
What was his total last year? Was that like about half?
Last year he had 7.62% of the response, and this year he had 4.29.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Almost half.
almost half. And then we are now moving from the B tier up to the A tier. There is a difference of 20 votes from Kirishima to our number 5 Rikshi, and let's see, and the difference between Terunofuji and Kirishima was only 16 votes. So
Oh, so that was a pretty tight cluster, and then there's
Yeah.
a big break.
now there's a big jump here. So our A tier, number 5, we decided to keep him on the poll. Since he was on the Aki Bansuke, it's only fair to keep Takakeisho on there
Hey.
despite his Intai. Takakeisho coming in 5th place, getting 6.29% of the response. 5th place for the 3rd consecutive year for Takakeisho.
I wonder if he can do it for a fourth.
We'll see.
Keep him
It'll be
on. Let's
interesting
keep
to
him on
find
the
out.
poll.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
No wonder we do the Oyakata popularity poll.
Yeah, there you go. That's a
hey.
good question for next year.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 4. This is where we have our second newcomer to the top 10 this year. Is it Onosato? Is it Wakatakakage? Thoughts? Who's more popular?
Kage. Oh, no, Sato's got to
Wakatakakage.
be more popular.
Yeah, same.
Number 4, Onosato, with 7.58% of the response. He is the second highest. He has the second highest ranking for a Rikshi that made their top division debut that year. Who previously was the highest ranked Rikshi in their debut year? Was it Hoshoryu in 2020, Midori Fuji in 2022, Tobizaru in 2020, or Enho in 2019?
This feels like an Enho to me. What do you guys
Yep,
think?
that's what I was going to go with was Enho.
I was going to go with as well.
Absolutely. It was Enho, as that was our first year we did the popularity poll, and Enho was far and away number 1. He still holds the record for the highest percentage of votes for a Rikshi in the top 10 popularity poll.
If that was our first year, they all counted as that was their first year. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying their first year in the top division. So he made his top division debut in 2019, and he was also the number 1 most
I see.
popular Rikshi that year. So Onosato made his top division debut this year, and he's the number 4 Rikshi. So that's the second highest ranking for somebody that made their top division debut this year.
I thought you were saying that was our first poll, but no, that was Enho's first poll that he was.
Well, that was
now
also
I get it.
our first poll as well.
But it still counts because that was the year that he debuted.
Correct.
All right, my brain is untied from that knot.
Just for notes, Tobizaru was 6th place in 2020. Midori Fuji was 9th in 2022. And Hoshoryu was 22nd in 2020.
Not a lot of splash on that debut, I guess.
Nope.
I feel like he was a little bit slower rising up the Bansuke Hoshoryu.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly a lightning bolt when he first got in. He started with like a 7 and 8, then an 8 and 7 around in there. Took him a couple years to really get his feet underneath of him.
I would disagree with you in that, yes, he's absolutely a lightning bolt because of like in his overall career trajectory, but popularity poll wise, you're right. He had 2 middling tournaments under his belt, and that was it when he was first on the poll.
Yeah. When we have a Onosato to compare to, it definitely.
Yeah.
kinda
What's the
middling.
point of any history when you have Takeru Fuji and Onosato? Like,
Yeah.
there's not really any point in anything beyond that, but I get your point.
All right, moving up to 3rd place, it is Wakatakakage getting almost 10% of the response, 9.78. Fleric shaking his head as the Wakatakakage hater on the podcast.
I just don't see it. I don't see it, guys. It's he's good. Like he showed it in this last boss show, but it's just 3rd place. I don't see it. I'm sorry.
So last time Wakatakakage was included on the poll was in 2022, prior to his knee injury that took him out of the top division for 2023. What was his rank in 2022 before he left? Was his rank 2nd, 3rd, 5th, or 7th?
7.
5th.
I'm going to go 2nd.
Y'all danced around it. None of you got it. It was third place. So he's tying his career high ranking for the popularity poll at third place. So he's picking up right where he left off. All those Wakataka Kage fans saw him come back and they're voting for him again. So that's probably why we have guys like Kirishima, Atami Fuji, dropping off 3+ more percentage points.
Yeah.
Because Wakataka Kage and Ono Sato come in and suck up about 16 to 17% of all the votes in the top division. Those got to come from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm surprised that there are more Wakataka Kage fans than Ono Sato fans. Well, I mean, again, you're only picking your number one guy. So like that's not
Right.
the same as saying like overall popularity, but like as far as number one guys, it surprises me, but I don't know. I guess there's more Wakataka Kage fans than I would have guessed.
I think it's more kind of like back to the Takayasu thing. Is like Wakataka Kage had time to like establish a fan base.
Sure.
Ono Sato, despite his incredible success, I mean, it resulted in him being fourth place, but he's still so new, just don't have time to gather those fans. And I also have a suspicion that a lot of people are already kind of annoyed at Ono Sato and him winning 2 U shows and kind of foreseeing what his career trajectory might be. So I think there's already some of that baked into it.
Screw this guy. He's too good.
Pretty much.
That'd be
Happens in every
interesting.
sport, though.
Yeah.
All right. We are now moving on from the A tier to the S tier as Wakataka Kage got 98 votes and our second place Rikishi got 150 votes, getting 14.97% of the response. Coming in second for the second consecutive year is Hoshoryu. He has been in the top 4 since 2021, his second year in the top division. So he's down at 22 in his debut year, but every year after that, he's been consistently a top 4 Rikishi. So Hoshoryu, your number 2 Rikishi, which as not a shock to anybody on here, who does that leave for number 1?
Ura.
That is correct. Getting 215 votes, 21.46% of the response. Wow. That's a full 2 percentage points higher than he got last year. And I believe that is
Give it to the man.
That is the second highest percentage increase of anybody's votes. So Ura's just gaining more fans. The only person who had a higher percentage of increase of votes is Roga, who jumped up to 13th place this year after last year not getting a single vote for a favorite Rikishi.
So an infinity percent increase for Roga.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, so you started at 0 and now all of a sudden like, look how much I increased. Like, well, you started at 0.
He had 0%, but well, it's not a 2.4% increase in his like number of votes, but just like he got 2.4% of the response this year, which is 2.4% more than he got last year.
Still.
All right. I was just looking up Ura and just a feeling old thing that I did when looking at this. He's apparently 32 years old now.
Yeah, dude's old.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's kind of like Takayasu was years ago. Like maybe 4 years ago.
You know what? I'm going to deflect by going back to Roga real quick. I'm just honored that Roga's parents were able to fill out our popularity survey. It's so cool that they participated in, and we can continue ignoring Flurik's Takayasu hate.
But yeah, so Ura is our first ever 3-time winner of the favorite Rikishi vote. I think it was 2022 when Hoshoryu was number 1, but then 2021, 2023, 2024, it's been all Ura. The 21.46% of the response by Ura is the second highest percent of votes ever. Like I said before, Enho back in 2019 still leads that with 21.85% of the votes. And with 3 first place finishes and a 4th place finish in Ura's 4 years of being eligible for the popularity poll, he has the second lowest standard deviation of all Rikishi that were eligible for this year. Who has the lowest standard deviation? Who has been the most consistent Rikishi in the popularity poll over the past 6 years? Has it been Endo, Hokuto Fuji, Takakeisho, or Takayasu?
Dang, I was hoping it would be somebody that's like been in the top division that whole time, but gotten 0 votes the whole time. Somebody like I don't know,
Takayaki's been dropping in and out.
Sadano Umi seems like somebody where it's like, yeah, you've been here the whole time. You're consistently not popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'll
weird.
I'll go ahead and make a stab of Hokuto Fuji because I know the people will love him, really love him, but he's never been like super like good to really get up there in the top 10.
Did you say Endo in that list?
I
Yeah,
did
that's
say
what my
Endo.
pick was going to be.
I'm gonna go Endo.
I feel like
All
he's
right.
yeah, for all the same reasons that Flarek said. I think Endo's been around long enough and has he's got some established hardcore fans, but most people just don't really care. So I feel like that would lend to a very consistent rating.
All right.
Yeah, I don't
So for Rikishi that were eligible this year, Endo had the 6th lowest standard deviation, 3.67. His highest rank ever has been 16th, and his lowest rank has been 24th.
Okay.
And our other choice, Hokuto Fuji, the 3rd lowest standard deviation with
Close.
standard deviation of 2. He has been 8 3 times, 7 another, 11 and 12.
That is a pretty tight grouping though.
Yeah.
Takayasu, he is the 5th lowest standard deviation. His lowest was 2nd one year, and his highest was 10th another, which leaves Takakeisho. I dropped this breadcrumb a little bit. He was 5th for a 3rd consecutive year this year. He was 5th the first year that we did this.
What?
And he also dropped in a 2nd and a 3rd, giving him a standard deviation of 1.33 over the 6 weeks of these polls. We're saying goodbye to our most consistent Rikishi in these polls.
The only context in which anyone has ever said that about Takakeisho's career.
Yeah, I remember he was 2nd a couple years. I think that's why I dismissed him. But I guess the other people bounced around a little bit more.
Yep.
I guess that's how math works. Wow.
It is. It is how math works. All right. So let's talk a little bit because we also ask in this poll, who is your 2nd favorite Rikishi? So if you factor in 2nd favorite votes, which Rikishi from the top 10 through 6 Rikishi jumps into the top 5? So I will remind you who our 10 through 6 Rikishi are.
I remember them, but yes, go ahead for the rest of the crew. Go ahead.
Of course.
Who are you again?
Number 10 was Teru no Fuji, a tie for 8th between Midori Fuji and Koto Sakura, Takayasu at 7, and Kirishima at 6. If you add together first place votes and 2nd favorite votes, which Rikishi jumps ahead into the top 5?
I'm gonna go
from
with
the-
Koto Sakura.
Okay.
Clarification. Oh, from the 10 through 6 is one of those Rikishis?
Yes.
Or are we just talking? Okay.
One of those guys in those rankings moves up to the top 5. I'm gonna say Teruno Fuji. I'm guessing this year that he's probably got a lot of fans that just didn't see him as much this year, but I imagine a lot of listeners still appreciate him. But yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like none of these answers would surprise me really.
I'm just because he keeps on popping up Takakeisho.
Takakeisho was in the top
But he's not
5
one of
and
the options.
It's not
eligible,
one of the
but-
options.
Oh, I thought he was
He's at
6 for
5
the third.
already.
That's
so
all right.
He said
already.
Takayasu though.
Oh, dang. Yep, you caught me not paying attention. Well played.
That's okay. It is Midori Fuji jumping up from a tie for 8th place up into 5th place. If you add together just 2nd favorite votes, he has the 5th most 2nd favorite votes. And the reason he's able to jump ahead, especially of Takakeisho, is that Takakeisho, as we mentioned, finished 5th in favorite Rikishi voting, did not fare nearly as well in the 2nd favorite voting. If you only look at the 2nd favorite ranks, what rank was Takakeisho? Was he 9th, 11th, 13th, or 15th?
I think
9.
15th. He was always love him or hate him kind of a guy.
I'm gonna
I
go
feel like.
11.
Jake got it. He was 15th place
Oh, okay.
for 2nd
Takakeisho
favorite
has
votes.
always been high on both most liked and least liked. So yeah, I think he's got some hardcore super fans, and that might be most of the people that like him are super fans.
I think my guess is the reasoning for this is like he's retiring. So like if he was your favorite, you're going to vote for him here. But then like
Sure.
you're not going to vote for him for like your second favorite, and he's out the door. That's kind of my little
That's a good
theory
point.
for that.
If you only kind of like Takakeisho, you've probably moved on to kind of like somebody else.
Right, exactly. All right. So we talked about our S tier Rikishi, we talked about our A tier, we talked about some of our B tier, all in the top 10. Let's skip over the C tier and the D tier Rikishi. Let's drop down to our F tier Rikishi.
Hey, real quick, was there any other movement really in the if you were factoring in second place votes? Was it still like the same grouping in the top?
Pretty much, yeah. Nobody entered or left the top 10 overall. Pretty much Midori Fuji went up 3 spots. Takakeisho dropped 2. Takayasu Kodozakura dropped 1. And that's all the movement in the top 10. So they just kind of shuffled around a little bit. Not a whole lot of difference in the second place votings. Wakataka Kage did garner more second place votes than Hoshoryu did, 118 compared to 97. But that delta isn't enough to propel Wakataka Kage ahead of Hoshoryu in like the combined vote.
So yeah, that makes sense. Other than Midori Fuji, nothing really moved.
Right.
Cool.
All right, so down to our F tier Rikishi. These are Rikishi that did not receive a single vote as somebody's favorite Rikishi in over 1,007 responses. So there were 4 of them this year. 2 of them were Makuuchi debutantes, Onokatsu and Shirokuma, who were newcomers to the top division in Aki, at which this poll, once again, was based off of. So name one of the other 2 Rikishi that did not receive a single vote as somebody's favorite Rikishi. If you have Sumo DB open, it might be a good time to take a look at that. Let's see.
I'm trying to look through the names because
what do we
if
got?
they did get a vote, it probably is one of those non-memorable people.
I'm sorry. So what were the names that you said already?
Shirokuma and Onokatsu.
Gotcha. So we're looking at the September Bansuke. That's got Kitano Waka on it.
Flarek, did you have a guess?
Yeah, I'm gonna just throw out Sada no Umi because he's a person who kind of.
That's the one that I was going to go with.
Yeah.
Sada no Umi.
That's not
Can I
bad
keep
choice. Sada no Umi was one of 8 Rikishi last year who did not receive a vote, but this year he did receive
No way.
2 votes for favorite
Hey.
Rikishi.
Hey.
It's an honor to have Sada Naomi's parents submit responses to our.
Jake, it sounded like you were pulling on a thread.
Bushozan, I think, is another possible.
Bushozan's
zero.
parents also participated, both of them, in this year's poll.
2 votes.
2 votes for Bushozan.
Kageyaki was on that Bansuke, but I feel like there's got to be at least a couple
there's got to be
ironic
somebody
likes for that
loves
one.
him.
Only one parent loves Kagayaki.
Oh, but he got one.
Oshoma.
Jake, you said his name earlier.
I said a lot of names.
He said a
already
lot
today,
of
man.
names.
Is it Takayasu?
Oh, Flarek.
No, Jake, Kita no Waka is one of our
okay.
Rikishi.
I'm sorry.
that-
When I said that, my intention was that is a guess of mine.
Yes. And it is a correct guess. He received
Okay,
0 first place votes. The other one, I will let you know, Nishiki Fuji. So the bottom 2 Rikishi on the Aki Bansuke were 2 Rikishi that did not have a single vote as favorite. And so beyond the F tier, we always have the specialized named tier for Rikishi that not only didn't receive a first place vote, they didn't even receive a second place vote. And that tier this year is named after those 2 Rikishi we just talked about, the Nishiki no Waka tier, as they have the dubious honor of not receiving a single vote for favorite or second favorite Rikishi.
Is the I forgot you were an option tier.
Yes, exactly.
The mom, no, you got to click the link and hit submit at the bottom. That tier.
Okay, what do I click again?
Mom, oh, Jesus. You know what? Forget it. I'll just let the GSB guys rip on me this year. Whatever.
It's not important. All right, let's move on to our favorite newbies to the top division this year. So we had 7 Rikshi as of Aki that made their top division debut. Of course, you had Onosato, you had Takeru Fuji, and of course, those are our top 2 vote getters for favorite debutante this year. But there were 5 other Rikshi that debuted. There was Toki Hayate, Onokatsu, Oshoma, Shirokuma, and Shimazuumi. Which of those 5 got the most votes for favorite Makuuchi debut for 2024?
I'm gonna go with the white polar bear of Shirokuma.
What you got, Mac?
I'm going Oshoma.
Well, I'll tell you, Fleric nailed it. Shirokuma.
really?
He more than doubled up 4th place. So Shirokuma was 3rd place. He got 74 votes for favorite debutante, and Onokatsu was the 4th place with 35 votes. Behind him in 5th place with 28 votes is Oshoma, and then tied for last place among Makuuchi debutantes are Toki Hayate and Shimazuumi, both receiving 21 votes.
Not gonna lie, I think anybody voting for somebody other than Onosato and Takeru Fuji probably doing that out of spite.
Trying too hard.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, if Shishi was on this list, I'd really have to think about it for a minute. Like, no.
Fair. He'll be on next
Yeah.
year's poll.
No, I know he will be, but I'm like, oh, come on, buddy. Come on, buddy.
Just like Koto Zakura, I think if this poll happened one basho later, the results would be a little different for him.
Shishi would
yeah.
probably be number 3, but there's no way he's
Probably.
passing Onosato or Takeru Fuji.
Oh, for sure.
No,
But
no, no, no,
I think
no,
he
no.
would be. It would be like the S tier. Then there's like nothing in A and B tier. Shishi's in C tier, and everybody else is nothing.
Yeah. All right. So between Onosato and Takeru Fuji, who was ranked higher this year as the favorite top division newcomer that received 48.53% of these votes? And nearly half of the votes went to one Rikshi. Was it Onosato or Takeru Fuji?
I think Onosato.
I'm gonna go with the logic of Jake that I think they're starting to get some hate from Onosato, so I'm gonna split and go with Takeru Fuji. It was just
That
a
was gonna
perfect
be-
story.
Yeah, I was going to do Takeru Fuji as well.
Yeah,
Jake got it this time. Onosato,
Oh.
number 1, 478 votes. And Takeru Fuji, it really wasn't that close. He was 150 votes behind with 33.3%. So pretty much Onosato got half the vote. Takeru Fuji got another third of the vote. And the rest of the guys split up the other 17%.
The other crumbs. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a look at our favorites in Juryo as of the Aki Basho this year. Which one of the following Rikshi was not ranked in the Juryo top 5 favorites? Was Aoyama in the top 5 favorites of Juryo this year? Was Asakoryu, Asanoyama, or Shishi? 3 of those were a top 5 favorite. One of them wasn't. Who wasn't?
Maybe Asakoryu? Just because I don't know. I feel like he's newer, but that's mainly he's newer to me. But people who watch
Asakoryu
Juryo are aware of him.
Was 5th. So he was in the top 5.
I'm going to go with Aoyama.
Aoyama.
You think he dropped off that quickly?
I think
yeah,
he did,
might be
especially
right.
after he retired.
Aoyama was indeed 6th place. He was outside of the top 5, just barely. Last year, he was also in Juryo for this poll. He was the 2nd most popular guy in Juryo last year behind Haku Oho. So our top 5 Rikshi, as I mentioned, Asakoryu with 6.47% of the response, moving up 4 spots from last year, who's 9th last year. In 4th place, you have Asanoyama with 6.68% of the response. You'd expect a former Ozeki like Asanoyama might pull in bigger numbers in Juryo, but there's 3 guys that are more popular, much more popular than him. If we were doing tiers for Juryo, there would definitely be a tier between Asanoyama and the 3rd place Rikshi, which is Shishi, who got 11.38% of the response.
C tier for Juryo.
No, that's Juryo B tier. Because
Oh,
you
B
have to
tier.
have
All right.
you have to have a separate A tier for 2nd place and an S tier for 1st place.
I'm gonna guess
Okay.
Takeru Fuji is that S tier because he wasn't on the Makuuchi list, but I would
yeah.
You got two tough choices for the top Juryo Rikishi. Is it Haku Oho or is it Takeru Fuji?
I think Jake got it with number one. This has to be Takeru Fuji.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. I know that most people who watch Top Division don't necessarily watch Juryo, but so like they would kind of be basing the decision between these two on what did each of them have just exactly one Top Division tournament
Yeah, and
ever?
Haku
Yeah.
Oho wasn't even participating in it. No, Haku Oho was not in the top division at all this year.
No, but he's been in the Top
But he's
Division
only had
one
one
time.
Oh
top
yeah,
division
one time.
tournament.
One time. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did pretty good, but Takeru Fuji won it. So I feel like if you were somebody that only watched the Top Division, I bet you a
You'd
lot of
know him.
people were like, "Oh, that guy, he's in Juryo. Cool, I'll vote for him." That'd be my
Yeah.
guess, but yeah, I don't know.
And that is very solid logic and the correct logic. Takeru
Yeah.
Fuji, first
Yeah, how big's the
overall, getting 31.84% of the response, and Haku Oho got 19% of the response.
That's a big gap.
So it was a difference in 123 votes between the two of them.
Okay.
So Haku Oho was the runaway favorite for Juryo favorite in 2023. How much did Haku Oho's percentage drop from 2023? So I will not tell you what he had last year. Just kind of give me a range, like 15-ish percent, 20-ish percent. How much do you think his percent of the response dropped from last year?
I don't know, like 15 maybe.
I'm gonna go 23.
12.5.
Mac would be closest here. He dropped 21.6% from last year. He had 40.6% of the first place votes last year, got 19 this year.
Wow.
Ouch.
We also had two Juryo Rikishi that did not receive a single vote for favorite Juryo Rikishi. I'm not going to
pull
make
this
you
up.
guys pick who that is.
Is it two names we've like never heard?
Yeah.
Probably Osho Umi and Haku Yozan.
Nope. Nope.
So
Those both
Osho
sound
Umi,
like random generated creator wrestler names.
Osho Umi was a newcomer to Juryo in 2023, and Haku Yozan has been in Juryo he's got almost 6 years worth of Juryo Bashos, and he's never made it to the top division.
He was in one of our card episodes. I remember you've got a couple of his cards.
Yeah, they had him as like a up and comer from some of our old sets of cards, and that really never came
Was
to
it the
fruition.
2020 set?
Probably, yeah, it was like either 2019 or 2020 set.
That would make sense.
Yeah. All right, and let's take a look at some of the favorites below the rank of Juryo. Let's take a look at our top 5. Tied for 5th, we have Kawazoe and Kotote Bakari. Kotote Bakari is now Koto Eho up in Juryo. They both received less than 2% of the vote. Chiyomaru was number 4 in the non-sekitori ranks, getting 2% of the vote.
My boy.
Aonishiki was in Makushita at the time this poll was sent out. He's since moved up to Juryo. He was the 3rd favorite non-sekitori. In 2nd place, another Rikishi that has since moved on to Juryo, Nabatame. So I remember last year we talked about the top 5 non-sekitori Rikishi that were the favorites, and Nabatame was on the list. I had never heard of Nabatame. None of us had heard of Nabatame, and I had asked, who's this guy? Why is he the
Who is
4th
this guy?
most
Yeah.
popular Rikishi in the lower divisions? So apparently his stable has a YouTube channel where they like do a lot of food stuff, and Nabatame is one of the standout stars from that series. So let me
That's
figure out.
Futagoyama. Yeah,
Futagoyama, thank you.
they're an interesting follow on Instagram too. But yeah, because I don't speak Japanese or read it very well, of course, didn't recognize that Nabatame was one of the names that always pops up there.
Yep. Any guesses at who the most popular Rikishi in the non-sekitori ranks is?
I mean, I think I think
I would say Enho.
has he won
would
the
say
top
correct.
title in each division that he's been in, or each category that he's ever been in? Has he ever won most popular in Juryo?
Probably. I would assume.
It's Enho. It's sweet baby Enho.
It would be really funny if he was the only one that has ever been that popular in each of these 3 tiers for us.
He absolutely has been. Yeah, nobody else would even come close.
Yeah.
But that being said, he still only got 11.46% of the response, as once again, the overwhelming majority of people responded, I ain't got a favorite down there. I don't care.
I don't watch. I don't care.
What
down
percent?
there.
Over 50, a little over 50.
Okay.
Oh,
wow. But I do have one more question about people who received votes for non-secutory favorite. Which GSB crew member got the most write-in votes? Was it me? Was it Fleric? Was it Jake? Or was it Mac?
I
This
would
is
say
that
Fleric.
vote stacking
Whose
you were talking about
parents
before.
filled
That was
out
me
the
filling
form?
out. Yeah.
I would say
Of two.
Fleric. Got to be Fleric.
2 votes. I have a feeling I'm going to go with Ryan on this one.
All right. We'll start from the bottom. Receiving 0 write-in votes is me. Assholes.
This is very,
You didn't fill
this
out
is
your
very
survey?
fitting.
You didn't do it?
I did a survey. I don't remember who I said was my favorite lowest division rickshaw. It wasn't me. I didn't know I was eligible. I didn't know we were eligible for this. In a tie for second place is Mac and Fleric receiving 1 vote apiece, and Jake with 2 votes. Yeah, is the most popular GSB crew member in the non-secutory ranks.
Oh, God,
All
that's
right.
funny.
They're taking non-secutory ranks very literally.
Yeah. All right,
Oh,
let's
To
that's-
move.
those who voted for us, thank you. We love you.
I have nobody to thank. Everybody can
That
go
was
screw themselves.
not the spirit of the not the spirit of the survey, but I'm going to lord it over the other 3 of you forever.
Jake's gonna get a trophy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm making myself a trophy.
2024. Yeah, champ.
Most
Perfect.
popular non-secutory
popular.
wrestler
By 1.
in Iowa.
Doubling the votes of my competition.
Yeah, I got 50% of the vote.
All right.
Oh
let's
God, I have
move
some
on.
guesses of who that would have been too.
Let's talk about the favorite Basho in 2024. We've only got 5 to choose from. In 2025, when we do this poll again, we'll once again do it after the Aki Basho. And so we'll have 6 tournaments to choose from, including the just concluded Kyushu Basho. But what do you guys think was the most popular Basho this year? Was it the Hatsu one with Teruno Fuji's first Yusho, and he won that over Koto no Waka in a playoff? Was it the Haru Basho with Takeru Fuji winning the Yusho? Was it Natsu with Onosato's first Yusho? Was it Nagoya with Teruno Fuji's second Yusho in a playoff over Takanosho? Or was it Aki with Onosato's second Yusho where he had it wrapped up on day 14?
I think this is going to be an obvious one.
You going with March for Takeru Fuji's win?
It's got to be, right?
That's my thought. I mean, that
Certainly
was
the-
history.
It was certainly the most interesting result, but like, I guess I don't remember the Bosch. Yeah, I mean, with as long as we followed the sport, it's kind of, yeah, you kind of just remember them by unless there was some weird catastrophic or wild thing that happened. You usually group them in your head by the result, right? So if a lot of the people voting were think of it the same way I do when we look into the past, yeah, I think that Takeru Fuji one's got to be the winner.
I mean, debut, bottom of the Bansuke, takes the gold, wins. It's like, okay. And he did it convincingly. It was Tokushoryu, but convincingly.
Yeah, it wasn't a bunch of Suki Otoshis at the Tawara as he's about to be pushed out. It was convincing wins, and it was another convincing win for Takeru Fuji, as indeed the Haru Basho was the most popular one, receiving 35% of the response.
Was that Shamshade versus Tokushoryu?
Absolutely, yes.
Just
I
a
Almost
little.
went under
Just
the
a
radar
little.
there. Yep.
That is uncalled for, and I'm offended. I see why you got no votes as the best non-secutory ranked.
Fair.
Rickshaw.
Very fair. But also, I think very fitting for this podcast. Second place confused me. Nagoya was the second most popular basho, and
Really?
that one probably would have been like my last place one for this year. Teruno Fuji's second Yusho with the Takanosho playoff. Might be just because I'm a hater and I didn't really care for the Takanosho run. But
Sure.
so yeah, that was second, and then Aki was the third favorite. That was Onosato's second Yusho. Hatsu was the fourth favorite. That was Teruno Fuji's first Yusho. Hatsu would have been my second, maybe even first place, because it's a while back, but that was the basho where Koto no Waka at the time, Teruno Fuji, Hoshoryu, Kirishima, all of them just dominating.
That was
at the
Kirishima's
top.
rope run. That was when it was like he was fighting for the rope.
Yep, absolutely. And it ended in a 13-2 playoff between Teruno Fuji and Koto no Waka. That was a great Yusho race featuring 4 Rikishi that went all the way to the wire. Hatsu, underrated, I feel like, just because time has gone on and it just is like another Teruno Fuji Yusho that it kind of gets lost in the mist. And the least favorite one, a bit of a surprise to me, Onosato's first Yusho was the least popular basho this year.
Huh.
All right,
I wonder why.
that's enough talking about what people like, what's popular, what's the favorites. It's time to move on to my favorite part, the least favorites.
Let's get some hate going.
Let's get a little bit of hate going.
More hate.
All right, so half of the top 10 least favorite Rikishi from 2023 have been replaced. Name 2 Rikishi that you think will be newcomers to the top 10 least favorite list. And I can remind you of who the top 10 least favorite were last year. So last year at number 10 was Onosho. Number 9 was Koto no Waka. 8 was Hoshoryu. Tohakuryu was number 7. Shodai was number 6. No Response was number 5. Hoku Seiho, very rightfully, was number 4. Should have been higher. Shame on everybody for not foreseeing all of that.
How dare you
at you.
people not know the future?
Looking at you.
Yeah. Ryuden was number 3, Takakeisho number 2, and Abi was number 1. So we have 5 people that have been replaced. I want you to name 2 new people that you think made it to the top 10 least favorite list this year.
I don't know if Onosato is that polarizing yet, but he's a potential there.
He is not on the least favorite list, but he is number 12. He is tied for 12.
I knew it. It's. I bet you by next year he'll be a little bit higher on that list.
Absolutely, he will be.
Is Ichi Yamamoto on there now?
I was just looking at that name.
He seems like a perfectly nice guy, but he wrestles like Abi, which is kind of frustrating to watch sometimes.
But most importantly, is not Abi, and that works in his favor as he
That's
was
a plus.
17th this year.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out Nishikigi because I think he had a weird run of like causing a lot of turmoil and like doing pretty well.
Sure.
No, people like Nishikigi. Well, people don't feel things about Nishikigi. He received 2 least favorite votes, and he received 6 favorite votes. So people
Good for
don't
him.
feel too much about Nishikigi.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a wild stab and go Mitake Yumi.
No. Mitake Yumi's kind of just also moving to that area of like
He's kind of fading out.
he's just there. Yeah, he was 22nd in least favorite.
All right. Go ahead, Jake.
Bushozan.
No, he's just he's another one that's just like you're there,
Fade
but
to
I
back.
don't care.
Yeah.
He had 4 votes and he was tied for 28th.
All right. This is going to be my last one. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with just a gut feeling, Gonoyama.
Go No Yama is indeed a newcomer to the
Ooh,
top 10
good shot,
least
Flerick.
favorite list. You love to see it when they line up with how you feel deep down
Ryan
inside.
is
You know what?
overjoyed.
I got another guess then, because if Ryan can near single-handedly drive somebody to become hated like that, can you do the same with Oho?
God, I wish I did. I really wish I did, but I didn't.
So you don't have
So
ultimate
no,
power. That's
Oho is
good.
not
No.
there.
Oho was 21st. I was very disappointed. I thought he was going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So let's go through the top 10s. I'll just call out the newcomers as we get to them. So 10th least favorite Rikshi. And I'm also no response or the option of none is included because there's some people that feel like they're
Yep,
above
that's totally fair.
hating people and they'd like to make themselves feel good. And we all know it's bullcrap. There's somebody
Of
that
course.
is not that is your least favorite. You should vote for it. But we do
Feel good
include
about
the none
yourself. That's
option.
great. You're a better person than
Pat
us,
yourself
but
on the
whatever.
back. You did good.
Yeah.
You did good.
Enjoy that high horse.
Yeah, we do include the none option, and so that option is within the top 10 somewhere.
Sure.
But at number 10 is Oshoma. This is a newcomer to the top 10 ranks. He was not ranked last year because he was in Jurio last year, but he got 2.88% of the response. So Oshoma is your 10th least favorite Rikshi.
You think that's just because he's kind of boring and he pulls all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was a bit of a bullying scandal with him that just kind of
was?
seemed to
Right.
get brushed under the rug when he was
Yeah.
in Jurio.
So
I
he
don't
might
know.
also be a bit of a jerk.
It was accusations. Whether there was accuracy to those accusations or not, I know that that's been refuted a little bit and like how severe they actually were. So I don't want to kind of say that he's a terrible person or anything like that. We don't have all the facts, but the accusations have been put out there against him.
Sure.
So that obviously is not going to help. In 9th place is Koto Zakura, getting
Really?
2.98% of the response. He was 9th last year.
What
So
is the hate? Why the hate?
people don't like that his daddy is a Shimpan. People think he
That's
gets
true. I remember that.
special treatment. And also, I think it might be a bit of the reason that I didn't like Aoyama. He's got 4 boobs, and I don't think some people just can't get past that.
But
There's
he has
probably
but he
Go-
has
go
4
ahead, Mike.
boobs and he's good though. That's the thing.
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's in the top 10 favorite list, too.
Okay.
you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
I imagine that there's just some level of this guy is really successful and that's going to draw stronger opinions, not all of them positive.
Well, he was in the top 10 last year, too, before he made it to Ozeki.
Yeah, that's true. He wasn't, I mean, like, because his 2023, he was still good,
Yeah.
but like he was just Komosubi for most of the year.
Like, if you ever go to the sumo r/sumo subreddit, there is a large amount of people who don't
Why
like
would you go
Koto
there?
Sakura and swear up and down that they fix matches in his favor because his dad is a Shimpan.
Man, if you are on Reddit, r/sumo memes is a much happier place to be to consume sumo stuff.
But
on
they
Reddit. I
also
will say that.
complain too much about r/sumo for my liking.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah. In 8th place is Gonoyama, our second newcomer to the top 10. He got 3.28% of the response, moving up 9 spots from last year where he was ranked 17th. In 7th place, we have our third newcomer to the top 10 least favorite list and our second Rikshi that is on both the top 10 favorite and least favorite list. It is Kirishima, getting 3.48% of the response, jumping up from 29th place last year.
That's what happens when you break hearts. People remember.
Wow.
Yeah, so maybe a lot of those votes that were voting favorite for him last year, they hold a grudge and they went straight to least favorite.
Yeah.
This guy's garbage. I hate him now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trash.
Another newcomer to the top 10 least favorite list, at least who wasn't on it last year, is Tobi Zaru with 3.57% of the response in 6th place, moving up from 11th place last year.
Yeah, I don't get that one.
He's like, I don't understand because like him and Ura are almost the same guy. Like Ura's just got a little bit more of that flash and the je ne sais quoi that make him the number 1 favorite Rikshi, but there's not that
Goofier
much
face.
difference
Yeah,
between
much
the
goofier
difference
face.
of them. And Tobi Zaru just rubs people, does this almost the same style as Ura does, but he just rubs people the wrong way. Whereas Ura is a perfect little cherub who can do no wrong. And I don't necessarily disagree with the people. I'm just pointing out it's weird.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I certainly like Ura more than I like Tobizaru, and I cannot defend that.
Yeah.
Like, I have no logical argument for it.
But I like Tobizaru as well. I mean, I don't have
Yeah.
any hate toward the guy.
No,
but it's
not
like,
as much as Ura.
Apparently me as well, actually. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he's.
All right.
I would say he's been
I'm part of the
of
problem.
Yeah, I will say he's actually been endearing me in his heart a little bit, in my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because he's been sticking around for such a long time.
And he smiles every once in a while. He's like, I just did that. It's like Ura. When he wins, he's like, oh, like, holy crap, did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, Ura's smiling more after a loss than wins most of the time.
Also, yes.
I will say Ura does pull off some trickier Kimarite and stuff. So
Yeah, he definitely has a bit more flash than Tobizaru does.
yeah,
Saying Tobizaru is like close to Ura's style is kind of misleading because it's like he's probably the closest,
Yeah,
but that's still quite a ways off from Ura's antics.
It's still chaotic. Tobizaru's style
For
is still
sure.
chaotic.
Like, if you were to say who is the most like Ura, it's like, well, nobody. But if I had to pick, maybe Tobizaru.
Yeah,
like
both of
that's
them-
maybe that's how I'd answer that question.
both of them are guys that try to keep their opponent like at arm's length and wait to capitalize on a mistake, then try to drive the action.
And just a little hair of slapstick goofiness just in their DNA.
Yeah. All right. In fifth place, we have our third Rikishi that is on both the top 10 favorite and least favorite list. Who would you guys guess this is?
Hoshoryu.
Yeah, Hoshori's got to show
Hoshoryu.
up here.
oh, okay.
Absolutely. Hoshoryu with 3.77% of the response, moving up 3 spots from last year when he was 8th. So Hoshoryu is slowly but surely moving up the list of hated Rikishi.
Hate.
Let me see how he's been doing over the past 5 years. So he was 36th least favorite in his debut year. And then the next year he moves up to 20th, then 11th, now 8th, and now 5th. So he has gotten more and more higher on the least favorite list every single year since his debut.
He's gotten a little bit cockier as he's gotten more successful, and he's got a little bit of his uncle's mean streak to him. Like, I think outside the ring, he's a perfectly nice guy, but he definitely has a little bit of that. Like Hakuho had it too, just a little bit of like mean competitiveness to him, you know. And it's not like he's a complete jerk. He's not like, you know, thumbing the eyes and pulling the hair and stuff like that. But like, there's a little bit of fire to him that I can see rubbing people the wrong way.
I would say probably more intensity than mean.
Maybe that's a better word for it. Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
But regardless, it's something that I can understand could rub somebody the wrong way, even if it's one of the main reasons I have a positive opinion of him myself.
I confess that I love the mean/intensity that he has with Go no Yama, though. His matches with him are still some of my absolute favorite because I'm like, oh, these guys are just gonna beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
And that first match, which led to their little rivalry, is a very good reason to make somebody dislike Hoshoryu and vote him as their least favorite. Like, really can't blame somebody for that.
Or Go no Yama.
Or Go no Yama.
Yeah.
Whoever you believe is in the wrong there is that's a powerful argument.
All right, moving on to number 4, we have Kagayaki, who is our last newcomer to the least favorite list from last year.
I knew I liked our listeners for a reason.
Wow.
4.77% of the response. It's amazing. So we've talked about guys like Bushozan, Nishikigi, Sada no Umi, who are just like Rikishi that don't really make an impact in the Yusho race ever. They're hanging out in the double-digit Maegashira ranks, and they're getting like 1-2 votes for least favorite and favorite Rikishi. And yet here's Kagayaki, who's the exact same as those guys, but he is the 4th least favorite Rikishi in the list. Which
and another
I have
one
to
that,
attribute to our constant just piling on of Kagayaki. Like, what other reason would there be for that?
yeah. Well, he does have a very silly looking style that frustrates me. I think it was Wata who who first like broke down this style in my memory of
Yes.
just like why is it so frustrating to watch this guy? And if I remember right, the description was he waddles forwards like a duck pushing
Like
a
a duck,
lawnmower with
yeah.
these dumb
Yes.
little underhooks that he does exactly the same every single match. Doesn't matter who he's facing or how the fight is going. He's got these tight little elbows and he just burp, 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 and like that's it. So like yeah, it's frustrating to watch, and also he's very memeable. So
Yeah. All right. So the response that got the third most votes this year was no least favorite Rikshi, with almost 10% of the vote. Boo to that 10% of the
Ryan
Take a
wants
stand.
rage.
Let me anger some more people to make sure I don't get any votes next year as favorite non-sequitori.
so is
wait,
there
that's a
least
category?
favorite right in?
Yeah.
Can I put Ryan in that field?
I will say, if we took off the no response from the top 10 list, then the Rikshi that would come in 10th place would be Taka Keisho, who would have dropped from second last year to 10th overall this year if you're removing the none option from the
haters
field. So,
haters don't forget.
Taka
Nope, I was
Keisho
wondering
and
where Taka Keisho would
honorary
be.
top 10 least favorite Rikshi.
Sure. What was no least favorite last year?
Fifth. It's been slowly rising in the ranks
Yeah.
year to year, and that's been
Okay.
angers me. All right, so I asked this question last year. I'll ask it again. We are down to number 2 and number 1. Did Abi get overtaken for least favorite Rikshi?
Are you going to tell us who the other guy is?
I will. Second place is either Abi or Ryuden.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't think Ryuden's really done anything this year to change people's opinion of him. I don't know.
I'm
He's
saying
pretty
unchanged.
bad last Basho.
What's that?
I mean,
Getting
in the
bad.
ring, yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's kind of like
fine.
Kirishima. Like after a while, like getting bad is kind of a reason why people can kind of turn on you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no. My guess is going to be Abi still number 1 hate.
I'm gonna agree with Mac. There's no way
Same.
people don't hate Abi still.
People hate Abi. In first place for the third consecutive year is Abi. And this is his fourth time winning least favorite Rikshi, because back in 2019,
Wow.
he was also the number 1 least favorite
Was
Rikshi.
he ineligible for the one time in between
The
that he
one
didn't
we
win?
didn't do it.
No, 2020 and 2021. Let me look at Abi's history. He was ineligible for one of those.
Yeah, he was suspended, or he was out of the top division at the end of
21,
2021.
right?
Yeah. So in 2019, he was the least favorite Rikshi. In 2020, he was ineligible. In 2021, when he was making his comeback, he was 7th. And then at the end of 2022, he hanked Takayasu in a playoff match, and he has been number 1 ever since.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. And that was right at the end of
That'll
the
do it.
year too, wasn't it?
Yep. So I will say, Abi, his percentage of the vote has dropped each of the past 2 years. So in 2022, he got almost a full quarter of the least favorite votes. In 2023, that dropped to 22.89%, and it dropped again this year to 21.25%. And the gap between Abi and second place significantly decreased this year. So second place last year was Taka Keisho, and he was riding a hate high off of also a Hanka in a playoff match against the Tommy Fuji just one Basho prior to the release of the popularity.
It's true.
But he had 13.29% of the vote compared to Abi's 22.89. This year, Ryuden, he got 20.26% of the votes, just
Whoa.
1 percentage point away from Abi, and a total of 10 votes less than Abi for least favorite Rikshi.
Interesting.
So,
Very.
so
Bobby's got to do something. He's got to up his game this next year if he wants to
How-
keep that title.
Yeah. How many more votes did do you think Ryuden received compared to the next Rikishi that was on our list, which was Kageyaki? Was it 2 times as many votes, 3 times as many, 4 times as many, or 5 times as many?
Yeah, I don't know. If you mentioned the top 2 guys were so close, I'll say it's 3 times as many.
I'm gonna go with 4.
Yeah, and it's about 4 times as many votes for Ryuden as Kageyaki. Kageyaki got 48 votes, and Ryuden got 204.
So this list has like an S tier and then nothing until like D tier.
This vote says an S tier, no A tier, and then a B tier. Actually, I put no response as an A tier because no response had 97 votes compared to Kageyaki's 48.
You can't help yourself. You got to tier list it, don't you?
Yeah, you gotta have something in everything. For the first time in our polling, we have 3 Rikishi that did not receive a single vote as least favorite Rikishi. There's been a couple times where no Rikishi receive 0 votes. Everybody has gotten at least 1 least favorite vote. There's been a couple times where only like 1, maybe 2 Rikishi. This is the first time 3 Rikishi did not receive any votes for least favorite. There are 2 of them that I'm going to chalk up to just apathy and not really caring that much about the Rikishi, just kind of slightly tinging towards a positive vibe for them. Takada Fuji and Takanosho did not receive a single vote, but they received 6 votes and 5 votes total, respectively, between the 2 of them. So between first place votes, second place votes, and least favorite votes, Takada Fuji had 6, Takanosho had 5.
That's wild for somebody that was just in a playoff for the U show this year.
Right. Yeah.
Instantly forgotten.
Yep. So which Rikishi just outside of the top 10 favorites did not receive a single vote as least favorite Rikishi? Is it Hiradu Umi, Roga, Hokuto Fuji, or Atami Fuji?
If you hate Hiradumi, I hate you. So I'm going to guess that one.
I'm going to just go with, how can you hate Hokuto Fuji? I'll go with Hokuto Fuji.
I'm on the Hiradumi train.
Jake does not need to add a single person to his hate list, as Hiradu Umi did not receive a single vote for least favorite Rikishi.
Nobody hates Hiradumi and everybody hates Kageyaki. Everything is right in the world.
Yeah.
All balanced, as all things should be.
So taking a look at just our total overall number of votes, we had 3 categories you could vote for a Rikishi: favorite, second favorite, or least favorite. We have 2 Rikishi that are tied for the most apathetic response overall. And both of them received 3 votes, and both of them received 2 second place votes and 1 least favorite votes. And they were both newcomers to the top division, Onokatsu and Shirokuma.
So Kita no Waka and Nishiki Fuji, who nobody had on their first or second list, there were more than 3 people who had them on least favorite.
Kita no Waka was 5 people's least favorite, and Nishiki Fuji was 13 people's least favorite.
Much bigger.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, people who received the most overall votes, Ura, Hoshoryu, Abi, Wakatakakage, and Ryuden coming in strong with those 200. He had a total of 207 votes. 204 of them were for least favorite.
Wow. Ouch.
Damn. How many least favorite votes were there for Ura?
4.
Oh. Okay, maybe I do have to add to my hate list here.
Yeah.
Wakatakakage had 2. Let's see. Any other notable names with a very small amount? Wakamoto Haru had 2. Yeah.
I have not
Takayasu
heard
3.
Oh, what the hell, people. I have not heard Shodai or Daisho's name at all yet today.
I'm a little surprised we haven't heard Shodai.
So Shodai's just kind of riding the wave of irrelevancy right now, dropping out of both top 10 favorite and least favorite lists that he's been in sometime within the past 2 or 3 years. Shodai, for favorite votes, is in a tie for 18th. He received just 1% of the favorite vote response. Daisho's even lower. He's tied for 23rd, receiving a 0.5% vote percent of the favorite response. And if we look at the least favorite, Shodai is at 15th there, getting a little over 1% of the vote, and Daisho is 17th, receiving 1 vote less for least favorite than Shodai did. So they're both they're both in the C tier in the least favorite, and Shodai is a C tier favorite, and Daisho is a D tier favorite. But I will say the D tier is the largest tier in both lists.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to me that I don't know. Could you bring up the trend for like, or I guess you did already talk about it, the trend for not having a least favorite. You said that more and more people have been not having a least favorite year to year.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 in 22. It was 5th in 23 and 3rd in this year.
Interesting. Okay.
So Takakeisho had the biggest change in percent of response from 2023 for any Rikishi, whether it was a positive change or a negative change, whether it was for least favorite or least favorite. No Rikishi saw their percent of response change by more than the 10.71% decrease Takakeisho had for least favorite Rikishi. So that's the biggest kind of delta that we saw anywhere among these favorite and least favorite lists from 2023 to 2024. So this dropped him, like I had mentioned, from second least favorite Rikishi in 2023 to 11th in 2024, or an honorary top 10 if you get rid of the no response option.
Sure. Fair enough.
All right, so let's kind of wrap this up with going into just some of the trends that we've been seeing over the past 6 years of polling. So I got a series of questions that we're going to kind of rapid fire off here. So Ura continues to be the Rikishi with the highest average placement for favorite Rikishi at 2.0, but he has only been eligible for the past 4 years. Besides Ura, which Rikishi that has been on the poll for 4 or more years has the highest average ranking? Is it Takakeisho, Terunofuji, Hoshoryu, or Takayasu?
I'll go with Takakeisho.
That's what I was gonna say, or maybe Takayasu, because I don't know. Everybody else seems pretty volatile.
I'm gonna go Takayasu just for his longevity, and it's Papayasu. I mean, he's had so many great and wonderful things happen in his life outside the ring. How can you not love that man?
So all of these guys average within the top 10, but it is Takakeisho who, besides Ura, has the highest average placement with a average ranking of 4.17. Terunofuji's average ranking is 6. Hoshoryu's average ranking is 6.2. He's that 22nd place in his debut year, really kind of pulling him down. As I mentioned, he's been in the top 4 for the last 4 years. And Takayasu, average placement of 6.67. There is only one active Rikishi whose ranking has dropped each of the past 3 years in the favorite Rikishi list. Who is it? Is it Sada Naomi, Nishikifuji, Oho, or Daisho? Which one Rikishi has had their rank drop the past 3 years?
Daisho.
Yeah, when was his Yusho? That's what I'm gonna look for here. Yeah, that was 21, beginning of 2021. So that's
Yeah, he probably had the high, I bet.
I will say 2021 was Daisho's peak year in as far as ranking goes at 16th.
Yeah. My vote's gonna be Nishikifuji, because I think he got pretty close to the bottom.
You said he had 0 this year.
Yeah, Fleric nailed it. So Nishikifuji has been on the poll for 3 years. He debuted at 16th, and then he dropped down to 35th and dropped down to 39th. All right. Which Rikishi with 3 or more years of polling data has the lowest average placement as favorite Rikishi? Who over the 6 years is averaging the worst? Meisei, Nishiki Fuji, Kagayaki, or Nishikigi?
Oh, I was gonna say Takara Fuji.
Yeah.
I don't know. Meisei had a decent year.
Yeah.
Not this last year, but he
No.
has had a decent year at some point. um,
I will go
Yeah.
with Kagayaki. Kagayaki. Kagayaki.
I think that's yeah. I'll go with that one too.
Yeah, same. Kagayaki.
Hey, that's when you know the answer, you know the answer. Yeah, the answer is Kagayaki.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah. So his average placement is, hold on, I messed up my data.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's okay. Control Z exists. Kagayaki's average placement in the how many years has he been in the 5 years he's been eligible? His average placement is 33rd. The only person,
Ugh.
the only people below him on that list are Kita Nowaka, who's been eligible for only 2 years, and then Onokatsu and Shirokuma, who made their debuts on the list this year. So I'm figuring they don't have enough data; they don't count.
Sure.
The next one on the list would be Sada no Umi, and then Nishikigi are the next two with significant years of polling data.
Nishikigi. Wow.
Yeah.
He started a cult this year, but he's still
He started a cult last
I
year.
was going to say last year. I think
Was
was
it that last
the
year?
cult of
It was
the cult of
when he
Nishiki.
had his peak in popularity at 18th. He dropped down to 22nd this year. So Nishikigi went from 28th in 2022 pre-cult, 23 cult, 18th, and then 1 year post-cult, 22nd.
18th.
So,
So
a
it
little Nishikigi pop in 2023.
That goes to show you just have to be 18th popular to start a cult. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, Rikishi.
All right. Throughout this entire episode, we have been concerned with the extremes, most and least, favorite, least favorite. What about the average guys? There are 3 Rikishi whose average placement is within 1 of 21.5, which 21.5 ranking would be right in the middle in a field of 42 people. Which group of 3 Rikishi are the most middle of the road in terms of popularity over the past 6 years? So we're looking for a group of 3 Rikishi whose average ranking is all within 1 point of 21.5. Is that group of 3 Abi, Wakamoto Haru, and Shodai? Endo, Ryuden, and Daisho? Mitake Yumi, Kotozakura, and Hirado Umi? Or Takara Fuji, Tamawashi, and Roga?
Not gonna lie, you just gave me 12 names in about 10 seconds there.
Last grouping of 3 is my guess.
I'm going to go with the Endo group.
I'll go with the Shodai group. They might have been the same group, but
Nope. You all chose different groups. And one of you chose the correct one. It was Fleric. Endo,
Ooh.
Ryuden, and Daisho have been like the most middle of the road in terms of their favorite Rikishi voting over the past 6 years. So like I said, 21 a ranking of 21.5 would put you right in the middle. Endo's average rank is 20.67. Ryuden's is 21 and Daisho's is 21.67.
That's fantastic. When you said that, the first name that jumped to me was Endo.
Yeah.
So as soon as it was a group with him, I was like, yes.
I want to see who our like most average, least favorite Rikishi would be.
a guy who's hated exactly the normal amount.
Yes. It looks like the closest is he's only got 2 years of data, but Roga with a ranking of 20.5. People that have a little bit more time with rankings of 22, Kotozakura, Tamawashi, and Tobizaru with 22.2.
Dang, I was hoping somebody would be perfectly average on both lists.
Let's see, where is Endo on the least favorite list? Endo's
I
a
can't
little
imagine
bit
too many
higher.
people hate him.
Endo's
Yeah.
13.5 on the least favorite list. Like he's always been hovering. He's always been hovering like just outside of the top 10. Let's see, Daisho. He's another fairly average fella. He's 24.83 on the least
Not
favorite
bad.
list.
All right.
And we know
Close.
Ryuden is way up high on the least favorite list. So
I think that means Daisho takes the most average crown.
yeah, most
Wow.
average popular Rikshi.
It's just a plain baseball hat, not a crown.
Here you go, buddy. No emblem, nothing. Just a
Yeah,
plain baseball
The hat
cap.
and the
Just
brim are
brown.
all just red. Like there's no additional color, no splash. It's just
red.
Yep. Which two Rikshi with more than 1 year of eligibility are tied with the lowest average placement for least favorite Rikshi over the past 6 years? So that's a lot.
That was a
yes.
lot.
Basically, which Rikshi are always at the bottom of the least favorite Rikshi list?
Nobody
So-
hates these guys.
Nobody hates these guys. I've got them paired off. I'll slow down so that it's more easily digestible. So, is it the pairing of Ura and Wakamoto Haru? The pairing
That's
of
powerful.
Teruno Fuji and Takanosho?
I think there's probably a decent number of people that hate Teruno Fuji.
The pairing of Chura no Umi and Takara Fuji? Or the
I have
pairing
no
of...
strong feelings on that one. I'm going to go with that one, regardless of what the fourth one is.
And the last one is the pairing of Midori Fuji and Wakataka Kage.
Oh, that's pretty good
Oh,
too.
that's a good one. Oh,
Yeah. Okay, that one.
I'm gonna stick with Takara Fuji. Come on, buddy.
I'm gonna go with the Ura group and Wakamoto Haru.
It is Midori Fuji and Wakataka Kage have the least amount of haters in the top division. They both of their average ranking is 38th least favorite.
Wow.
Okay.
Once again, the only people that are tied with them for that ranking are Onokatsu and Shirokuma, who were making their top division debut, and nobody cared about them one way or the other.
Real quick, what was the Wakamoto Haru ranking for most hated?
Wakamoto Haru's average is 35.53. Ura is 30.5. Teruno Fuji, yeah, that one, he's a little bit higher on that list. He's 13.4. Takanosho, he's down there because nobody cares about him. 36.67.
Some people care.
Chura no Umi is 35.5. And Takara Fuji is 31.17.
We're still in the 30s. I'll take it.
And that's all the questions that I had prepared for you guys. That's all the data that I have put together. Is there any other questions that you have, people that you're interested in, any trends or stuff that I didn't cover that we can get to real quick before we sign off?
How's Tamawashi doing? Because he had a streak like pre 2020.
Mm-hmm.
He was injuring people left and right.
It's Kotanages of Doom.
Yeah, including injuring Takayasu the one day of live sumo I ever got to watch Takayasu.
Yeah, but now he's kind of like the lovable old guy who sometimes
Yeah.
gets
Yeah, he's
used
the
up.
Iron Man.
How is his hate trending, I guess would be my question.
The polling reflects that. So Tamawashi, our first 3 years of polling, he was 35th, 35th, and 25th for favorite Rikshi, and he was also 6th, 15th, and 20th for least favorite Rikshi. So in 2019, the year of the Kotenage of Doom, he was the 6th least favorite Rikshi.
Yeah,
and in the
that
past
tracks.
3 years, when he's just kind of been lovable old guy, like he had the winning his second U show, he's been breaking the records. His favorite ranking for the past 3 years, 15th, 14th, 17th, and then his least favorite rankings, 31st, 29th, and 31st.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people have forgiven and forgotten.
He has been fully uncanceled.
Yes.
Now he is just lovable sumo grandpa.
Yep, absolutely. Any other Rikshi we are curious about?
I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as we sign off. That's usually how this works. It's like, all the data's right at our fingertips. What do I want to know?
No, we covered all the. I mean, obviously, this is the exact point of this is to find out who our listeners are interested in, so that we can maybe this can. Maybe we should make sure that we mention Ura, talk about his matches more often or something along those lines. So
Follow the dastardly deeds of Abi. Like, what
yeah,
is,
but
what
I mean,
evil
we
is he
already
up
do
to
those
this
anyways
time?
because
I mean, yes, but
yeah, But I don't know. I think it's interesting not just for the trend, but also like, is there anything else that we can add to our show because of these results or anything like that?
Mhm.
And I guess I'm kind of just as usual. I am I'm pleased with the results because it means that we have a decent idea of who to talk to because it's the guys that we like and or hate as well. So
Yeah,
at least in general, I think that's always pretty
absolutely.
fun to see.
Something that I did this year was I put together a quiz for all of our patrons that basically just asked the same questions I asked you guys throughout this episode.
Oh, cool.
And then I also asked them, hey, who do you think the top 10 favorite Rickshi are? Who do you think the top 10 least favorite Rickshi are? And so sent that out to all of our patrons. Thank you to all of the patrons that decided to take that quiz. Made sure to send out a warnings like, there's no reason you're going to do good on this. Like, why would you? You don't have the data in front of you. Like, these are all
Take a stab.
basic random shots in the dark. And the person who did the best with their random shots in the dark is Q Breezy. So congratulations to Q Breezy. You've won this. You've won the shout out on the show. But you did the best out of everybody on the
You're
quiz.
the best.
So I had
not gonna
asked,
continue.
I think, 20 questions, like 20 multiple choice questions. He got the most correct with 10. And
Yeah.
he was also the only person to guess correctly all 10 Rickshi that were in the top 10 favorite list.
Oh wow.
There were
Just
several people
slightly
that
out of
got
order
like
or something?
8 or 9.
Wow.
No, I didn't have them put them in order. I'm just like, here's the list of the.
Oh, I
let's do
see.
the
Pick
top
'em,
divisions
but
and
still,
who he thinks
but
is the top 10.
still.
That's still, yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. Way to go.
So, unless you guys have anything else, that's going to wrap up the 2024 popularity poll results. We're going to do it the same way we did it this year. Next year, we're going to do it after the Akiba show. I am anticipating a slower work schedule next year, so hopefully we'll be able to get the results out in a bit more timely fashion. But if we don't, you know what? This is a fun little hobby for me, so deal with it.
When your company rolls out a program that requires you to travel all over the country for months on end, like
2 programs. Two
Two
separate
programs.
I thought it was just the
programs.
one.
Speaking of which, I'm going to be in Nashville next week.
Oh,
lucky you.
man.
Yay.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that this was a tough season. Because like our whole goal with doing it one Basho earlier was like, let's keep some extra time around the holidays. We don't want to do everything at the end of the year, and then we do anyways, just because it's the way things work out.
Yeah. Well, it did allow me more time to like compile, because I did have like most of the data and stuff compiled before the Kyushu Basho happened, and so I had a lot less work to do post Kyushu Basho to get this episode rolling. So that definitely helped. So yeah, we got this done. We are planning on recording the GSB award show sometime soon. We'll get that to you before the end of the year. Of course, we're going to have our typical Bonds-K coverage coming out this year yet. And we're still gonna try to get the off month Sumo News update episode out as well. So there's still plenty of GSB coming before the year wraps up and before we head into 2025, where we could have not one but 2 new Yokozuna as of the Hatsubasho. So we're heading into a very fun time in 2025. So with that being said, until next time, throw your salt high, keep moving forward.